When Zach wrote that part for you, I mean, did he let you know that he's writing it for you? Did he let you know, like,
Yeah.
you're going to act in my show? And how did you feel?
Well, when he first called me about it, he just left me a voicemail, and I couldn't tell what it... I thought maybe he was going to do a late night appearance and wanted me to do a bit with him, because he had asked me to do that before.
Mm-hmm.
And I said no, because it seemed embarrassing. Zach loves being embarrassed. Like, he thinks it's funny if he looks ridiculous.
Yes.
And I don't have the healthy inner self-esteem that he has. So that's what I thought it was. And then when we finally talked, he said, it's a pilot for FX. I'm going to play a rodeo clown who lives in a motel in Bakersfield. I would like you to play my personal assistant. And I thought, like, and I said, like, well, I don't think I can act. Like, if it's, you know, I had a couple of meetings with casting directors after in 2002 I did Montreal, and it went
Another
well.
comedy festival that people get jobs from.
Yeah, and then I had meetings with casting directors, and it was terrible. And I was like, I'm going to freeze up like I did for that. I'm not going to be able to do this. And he said, it doesn't matter. It's not important. It's just fun. Just say your lines like you would say anything as yourself. And I was like, I'm still not going to be able to do it, but at least it would be a little bit of, again, it would be money. And I knew Zach, if he had to fire me, he would be as kind as possible about it. And I thought, I have to try it. I can't not try it.
Yeah.
So that's how it started.
Yeah.
And then when they got the order for the rest of the season, it was like, but it changed into being a Costco car insurance person, not his, because it didn't make sense for a rodeo clown to have a personal assistant.
Well, the show didn't make sense. So,
it didn't really.
It would have been fine, but you know, yeah.
But it was like just getting to spend hours a day sitting next to Zach.
Yes.
Just always feeling, he's always like emotionally balanced person to be with, in addition to being super funny.
Yeah.
So it was a combination of like, I always feel relaxed and safe with him, and he makes me laugh all the time.
Yeah.
And
he's truly he's a magical person. I love him so much.
Me too.
Yeah. And I love being around him, and you know, we've gotten to be friends over the years. Like, you know, I don't do anything. I don't go out with anyone, but I go out to dinner with Zach, you know, like just because I love him so much.
He's a dear person.
Yeah.
For sure.
Very special too.
Yeah.
Garden State felt like, I'm trying to think of the chronology, because has Scrubs ended completely when you do Garden State?
No, I was very young. It was I think after the second or third season of Scrubs, because my first hiatus from Scrubs, I was in a production of Twelfth Night at the Delacorte, Shakespeare in the Park in New York, which had always been a dream of mine. And then I remember while being there writing Natalie Portman a letter, because she was my first choice. I didn't ever think she'd say yes, but she was like the archetype of who I pictured.
Sure, yeah.
And I knew that she had done The Seagull there, so I thought, oh, this will be a good angle. I'm sitting in the same dressing room where she once sat, and I'll write her a very personal note to saying, please consider the script. And then she said yes over that season 2. So it may have been after season 2 or 3, I forgot. But we shot in 2003, whatever that was.
I mean, first of all, getting Natalie Portman, and this is your directorial debut.
Yeah, and I'm young,
very young. And I remembered at the time you're stepping out of your comfort zone to say, like, I'm on this successful sitcom.
Yeah.
Everyone knows me as this guy, as this character, but I am going to make this movie.
Yeah, and it's something that's very vulnerable, saying like, "Hey, here are the things I've dealt with. Here are." I mean, I had so much chutzpah when I think back. I didn't know what I didn't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's another gift too.
It is.
Is to be. I mean, were I to get in a time machine now, knowing everything I know, and someone said, okay, it's 1993, what you're going to do is I'd say no. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
No, and that's going to be painful and awful, and I'm going to get knocked around, and no.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stay right here in this armchair.
Yeah.
Because it's great not to know.
Yeah, I didn't know anything.
It's a superpower.
It's a superpower. That's a great way to put it. And so, and amazing things happened. I mean, it became no one wanted to fund it at first. No one knew. It was a sort of different kind of screenplay where the third act should go. The character just go off on a quest for a piece of jewelry we've never heard about.
Right.
It didn't really follow. I was being a little bit brave with structure and so it was hard to find someone to make it, and then I did, and then we had a really meaningful Sundance sale, and then it went on to become really successful.
How terrified, it all worked out so well, but how terrified, just knowing you, how scared were you? I always try to delineate, I've never been in this film business, I've always been in let's get in there, think of a couple of ideas. Okay, these seem pretty good. Let's get out there and do it. Bang! Crowd seemed to like it. Let's go. What's the next one? Or a crowd didn't like it. Well, we'll get them tomorrow.
Yeah.
And this idea that you're putting that much time and so much of yourself into something, and you're so young, and then it's coming out.
Yeah.
It's coming out. How scary must it be?
It's terrifying. But I feel the same way now. I have a new movie coming out. You're so vulnerable. But what else can you do? I mean, I think when you choose this career, it's like, what else are you going to do? You have to do it. You have to make stuff and go, okay, here, world. But in the spirit of not knowing what I didn't know, I'd never put myself out there. Scrubs, I was hiding behind the great Bill Lawrence. I just did what he said to do and improv some jokes, and it worked. But he was the face of it.
Right.
I mean, in Hollywood at least. Garden State was the first time saying, "Hey, world." These are some of my thoughts and feelings.
Right.
Love them or hate them, and so that's terrifying.
Yeah, you said, hey, now you're going to listen to me, see?
No, you say, hey, please, maybe look at this.
No, but I remember at the time you doing a lot of interviews where you said, now you're all going to listen to me, see? And you had a big cigar.
No,
which
you're thinking of somebody else.
I'm thinking of Guys and Dolls.
You're thinking of whenever they do like old movies parodies, they're like, at a pound, you.
Explain your fascination. Not that you need to explain it, because it makes sense to me. But I want to talk to you about Denzel Washington, because you've devoted a chunk of your life to Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
And yes, an incredible actor, a very good look.
Yes, an incredible actor. Yes. Yeah, Michael Jordan, pretty good at basketball.
I didn't say pretty good.
You said incredible. Like you said, yes, an incredible actor.
Well, yes, I'm just saying, but there are, what is it about Denzel Washington specifically?
Well, me and my friend Kevin Avery, who's also a comedy writer and actor, had a podcast for years called Denzel Washington is the greatest actor of all time, period.
Okay.
Because we felt we needed to declare that he was the greatest actor of all time, period, because he clearly is, and he did not get the respect at the time. So I just think that, it feels weird. Like, why is chocolate delicious? I don't know, Conan. It's
well, I don't like chocolate. Yeah, very off-putting.
You're the weird one. You're the weird one. Yeah.
That's stupid.
I love that someone tried to gasp, and it just sounded like you were one of those people that has a hole in their throat.
Come on.
You went.
It just sounded like a tea kettle that had no water in it.
I'm like Debbie from the smoking commercial.
There you go.
With the hole in her throat.
That's what you are.
Yeah.
There you go. We figured it out.
Years.
Can you just say I smoked for 20 years?
I smoked for 20 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was.
Oh, that's a good laugh.
Carry on.
Terrible cancer. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Well, I hope you're happy.
I'm just saying I sound like Debbie.
Yeah, I think it's terrible.
Okay.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Has Denzel ever been on the podcast?
He has not. I don't think I've ever met.
Podcast?
That's one of the things I like about him. He doesn't do any of it.
It doesn't need to. I mean,
no, he's at that last era of actor who doesn't have to have social media, doesn't have to. He doesn't, even when he wins awards, he's not that impressed with.
He does a lot of game shows.
He does a lot. He's the new host of Family Feud. He's taking over for Steve Harvey. But he's only going to do
I'm
it.
Just picturing, he has so much class and dignity. I'm just picturing him like doing stuff on Nickelodeon, getting slimed, and being like, "This is what you got to do.
He has
got to get the word out on the enforcer or whatever." I don't know.
Equalizer.
Equalizer. Okay, sorry.
That's all right.
No, I just think I think me and my friend Kevin would realize that we were talking about Denzel a lot, and we realized that we didn't hear other people talking about him as much, and we just felt like nobody ever thinks of him as being one of the. I mean, maybe he's not the greatest, but nobody thinks of him as being among the greatest actors of all time. Period.
But he gets respect. I'm thinking. I feel like Denzel Washington gets a lot of respect. No?
But whenever you talk about the greatest actors, there's like a sort of a crew of like De Niro and Pacino and you know, DiCaprio, all the O actors.
Well, yeah.
He's more consistent than all three of them.
Yes, and has been and he's still a box office draw, even though he's like he's getting up there. But he's like, and I think the issue that he has had is because of Hollywood and the racism of Hollywood. That he's not seen as being in that same lane. And so I feel like we were just like, we need to claim him and also give him his flowers before he passes. Because when he goes away, there's going to be like a ton of like, he's the greatest thing. But I felt like I would like him to hear it now, even though it was embarrassing when I found out he had heard about the podcast.
Oh, he did hear about it.
Yeah. Well, so first Kevin met him at some event in LA. And at that point I had my first TV show. So Kevin was like, oh yeah, me and my friend, Debbie Bell, have a podcast about you. He goes, Debbie Bell, that's that brother's always talking about me on the internet. Which I was like,
oh, wow.
Felt a little like he was accusing me of being like, don't show up at my house. Like,
yeah.
Kevin said he didn't just seem like, oh yeah, we've put him on our list. Like we know that he's and then I got to go to his the AFI tribute to Denzel Washington, and they invited me to it. So I was like, well, at least I'm not on the bad list. And and my wife's like, you have to meet him. You have to go meet him. And I was like, I just can't. I feel weird. I did this podcast. I wasn't doing the podcast anymore, but I felt weird about it. I can't go talk to. And she's like, you have to. And so she literally like picked me up. Not literally picked me up because she's not bigger than me, but she's like, we have to go. So she escorted me over. It was during a break. And like Julia Roberts is there. Spike Lee is there. It's like all these famous people. And I'm walking over in this rented tuxedo. And Denzel, is talking to Spike Lee, and I'm sort of standing over there, and Spike Lee looks at me, who I've met before, and then Spike Lee says something to Denzel, and this woman who's a journalist says something to Denzel like, this is and Denzel looks at me and looks at Spike Lee. I don't know if I can say this on the Conan O'Brien podcast, what he said.
Sure. Go for it. You can say anything.
Denzel looks at me and goes, my nigga.
Oh.
That's cool.
First time that's been said on this podcast.
I was going to say, yeah, not since the Harrison Ford episode.
Yeah, I don't know why it was said so often on that podcast.
No, it was so weird. That's when I started paying attention. And like Vince stands up and said, like he actually said, and I don't know if he still feels the same way, but in that moment he said, he's like, I love you. Because at that point I was doing United Shades of America. And so I think he really started to understand me through that show, not through the sycophantic podcast. And then I wept. And that's
really nice. I like that story.
It's great. It's sort of, when I tell it, I feel a little embarrassed even telling it.
Well, I think it's a
except
great
for the nigger part. I was really excited to say that in front of this room full of people.
That's 2 times now.
Well, you said I could say it, so now I'm going to say it all the time. And now I'm going to invite everybody to say it.
You should phone
1, 2, 3.
I've never seen a room clear out that fast.
My voice is gone.
Oh, nice!
That's my move.
Someone's like, my voice is coming back. Ah!
Sona might have said it a couple times today, and we wouldn't have heard it. It just sounded like a little burp.
Just to be clear for everybody listening on YouTube, that's with the A, the soft A, not the hard ER. It's the rap version.
It's this part of the book that is hard to believe, but you're doing theater and you're auditioning, trying to get these different roles, and you're getting by, but a huge part of auditioning is disappointment. So you audition for Orange is the New Black, haven't heard back yet, and you decide, I think I'm out. I think I'm done. So you decided more or less to quit.
Yes.
And then you get the phone call. Is that correct?
That is 100% correct. And it was also, by the way, the first time I'd ever quit. I have never quit anything before. And I'd never quit this, more specifically, acting. I had, doubted, I have questioned, I have been exhausted, but I've never in my mind been like, I'm done. And it was a Friday, and I was just wasted, I had been auditioning for film and television the whole summer, exclusively. I saw my bank account disappearing, gone pretty much. And just kept hearing no after no after no. And I had made it up in my mind. I was on Monday going to call my agent and call my manager and tell them that I was going to go to law school. I'm good.
The ultimate humiliation. And cheap.
Right. But I now, I was like.
Can you imagine there are lawyers listening right now? They're like, damn it! I had hung in another day.
Yeah, right? But I did. I was like, legit, that was what I was going to do. I called my sister, Chi-Chi. I ordered some wine. I ordered some sushi. And we were going to be like an I'm out party. And then 5:45 p.m. on the nose. Oh, and my phone rang. And it was my team saying, hi, how are you? I was like, I'm good. How are you? And they're like, remember that audition you went on for that show, Orange is the New Black? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, you remember the part you went out for? Because it was a different part. I was like, yeah, I remember. And they're like, well, you didn't get it. I was like, I'm leaving at the right time now that agents are calling you to tell you when you don't get jobs.
This is a new part of our service, but you failed, and we want to talk about it for like 40 minutes.
And I was like, okay. And they were like, but they'd like to offer you another role. And I was like, wow. And I'd never done anything on TV. It was wild. And I was just like, this is crazy. And I definitely did not know at all, for real, that was going to change my life in any way. I knew that it kept me in, but I had no idea that it was going to do anything.
You talk about this in the book. So you get the role of Crazy Eyes, and the time between you getting that role, I think it's within a year, maybe less, between getting that role and sitting at the Emmys nominated.
Yes.
When you hear your name.
Yes.
As the winner.
Yes.
That's
crazy.
That's fantastic. And who gives you the Emmy?
Morgan Freeman.
Oh, my God.
Morgan Freeman. It was wild. I was like walking up there and I was like, for some reason, listing like his resume, and I was like, Glory, Bruce Almighty. I was like driving this dude. You know what I mean? Shawshank Redemption, a favorite. Like I was just like going.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's amazing.
Yeah. And he was just handing it to you. We started talking about the life cycle of the penguin. Like, no, Morgan, no.
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, that's such a funny thing about this business. But there's talk about, famine and then feast. It's just there are long periods or stretches of disappointment and misery, and then this. I'm always reminded of there's this movie that was made, I believe, in the 1950s, and it's one of the later Humphrey Bogart movies. Humphrey Bogart, Katharine Hepburn. It's a great movie called The African Queen, and it's about it takes place in the beginning of World War I, and they're trying to make their way down this river because they have this idea that to accomplish this mission together, and they're in this tiny little boat, and it's impossible odds, and they're going and they're going and they're going, and then finally, and John Huston directed this movie. It's brilliant, and there's this scene that just resonates with me so many times where they're pretty much the river has gotten really low, and so Humphrey Bogart is pulling them through the river, and he's covered in leeches. And then finally the weeds just get too thick and they feel like we'll never get to the main river. We're going to die here. And they resign that it's over, and they get back in the boat, and he takes the leeches off of them, peels them off, and then they just cover under a blanket, and they've lost. And the camera pans up, and you can see that they're about 20 feet from the river. And that always hits me. That has happened to me so many times in my life where I didn't know how close I was. And what happens is overnight it rains and their boat just floats onto the river. But I think about that, just that image a lot, which is you got close to saying, well, this isn't going to happen. And if you could pan up, you'd see like, no, you are, you are seconds from being there.
Yeah.
You just didn't know.
I needed that message. B, thank you. Yes, like I didn't. I really didn't. Like, I felt like all the time that I had put into this thing that I loved, and I love it, I really love it. I love it still, and to not feel like I could was getting to do it, you know what I mean, was really tough to wrestle with and make peace with. And I didn't want and I've said this since the beginning, I'm like, the minute, and I do mean the exact minute that I no longer enjoy this, I will go find something else to do. And I was just feeling like this fear and this worry, really, that I couldn't love this. I couldn't, excuse me, I wasn't loving this idea of just trying to make something happen that maybe God, the universe, or energy, whatever we're calling it, was telling me very clearly, like, no, this is not for me. And then, when that happened, it made me think of that quote from The Godfather. It's like, just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in, and I tried to get out, and it was like, no, you're supposed to be doing this. It came like right in the minute that I needed it to happen. Like I said, and it was not something that I had any expectation of other than the 2 to 3 episodes that I was asked to come on to do. Yeah. And that felt like enough when I got them too. Like when I did 2 episodes, I was like, that was enough. And they're like, we're going to see you back. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get to do that 3rd episode. Awesome. You know what I mean? Like, and I was cool with that. It was like, it was totally enough. And then it became more than enough. And I was like, wow.
Right.
Like, just blown away.
Then what really happens in the showbiz cycle is then nothing becomes enough. What? You call this first class? I can't lie down completely. There is a sick thing I've witnessed. God bless it, it's never happened to me. Sona, more tea, please. Usually when I hear I'm going to talk to somebody and they've written a book, I get this feeling of apprehension, which is, oh man, I got to read the book. And they booked you, and I'm very excited. And then I hear Stephen wrote a novel, and I'm immediately very intrigued. So I get sent this copy of Harold, which is this novel you wrote, and it's beautiful. It's really funny and touching. It's beautifully written. I think only you could write this, and I love it. I really do. And it was such a nice thing for me to read the book and then know I get to go and drive in and tell Stephen, you got here a little early and I heard you were hanging out outside like a creep. But I was so excited. I had the book and I wanted to go down and I need to tell you how much I like your book.
I really appreciate it.
And it's funny because you mentioned Vonnegut, and I'm like, I can feel like there's different strains. Like you say, there's a soup, but I can see like Joseph Heller and Vonnegut. But it's very sweet and also at times sad. And there's such funny stuff in here. And it's all from the mind of an 8-year-old, 7 or 8.
7.
Yeah. I didn't read it that thoroughly. I just skimmed to get it. I just skimmed to get his age. I'm very good at it. I'm pretty, that's the one thing I will read is the age. No, but I was, I think 8 would have been the better choice, but that's my stew brain versus your consommé brain.
No, my broth brain.
But first of all, one of the first things that struck me because I'm so obsessed with myself is I read this. I read this thing at the front by the editor of the book from Simon & Schuster, who's clearly a big deal editor, and he's talking about how he stumbled upon you doing a set on my show, an interview on my show.
Oh, yes.
And he talks about how this is why it all comes together. He talks about how he's always been a fan of yours. And then he says here at the top of the book, he's starting to think about, what could I do with Stephen Wright? And then he said, I had only started my job, I guess it's Simon & Schuster, and I was spending a lot of time searching the internet, trying to come up with book ideas. I can't remember what weird YouTube algorithm led me to it, but I came across a clip of Stephen Wright on Conan O'Brien's late night show back in 2013 when he talked about writing a novel on Twitter, posting one sentence at a time. How long is the novel by now, Conan asked. 1,500 pages, Wright said. 1,500 pages, Conan said. And then you say, if there's one word on each page. And then I guess he thought, I got to check this out. So he went on Twitter and you really were doing that. And then he starts talking to you and you guys form a friendship and you do this book. So I was just thrilled that...
That's amazing, the connection.
Yeah.
It's tremendous.
Yeah. You would also think there might be a little financial sharing in here. But we'll talk about that later. You'll hear.
No, I love that. I love that he saw that.
But I love the serendipity of you do this joke, this guy sees that, then you start talking, then this book comes along. And this book is really special because it's a boy and he's growing up in, you say, the mid-60s, and he's in a classroom and he's daydreaming and thinking, throughout the class, and his mind is taking him all around the universe. He talks about hanging out with his grandfather, and in there are great, I don't want to call them jokes, but really good, profound observations, and they're all very much the way a kid would think. And you have this idea about, what if people were like trees and that they just kept getting taller as they got older? And I'd be walking down the street as an 7-year-old boy, and I'd see an 80-year-old woman, and she's 45 feet tall. and you have this conversation with her, and I'm just tickled. And then there's so many sweet things that happen in it, and it's almost also has some sort of a James Joyce quality because it's all happening in a very constrained period of time, but also the time is infinite because if you're daydreaming, a billion things can happen in 45 minutes.
Yeah, he's in the class and he's daydreaming, he's thinking about dreams he's had, he's thinking about experiences that he's thinking of memories, and it all is in one day. And in the class, it's great that you like it so much.
I love it. How much of it is you, or do you not want to say?
A lot of it. I think you can't write anything be completely made up. The thing is, when I was writing it on Twitter, I wrote like half a page on there. Then I stopped, and then I didn't write it for like a year. And then I thought, that thing, I should keep writing it and just keep going. But I didn't put it on Twitter, so I just kept going. And, the jokes I do are like, creatively, it's like going through a narrow window, a couple sentences, 2-3 sentences, and hopefully the audience laughs, Okay, and I'm not complaining, I'm just describing it. But I had a lot of things in my mind that wouldn't go through that window to just be a couple-liner joke. So I essentially used Harold's head. It's like I put a funnel on his head. And I poured into that funnel everything I think about being alive. Yeah. Religion and war and authority and the universe and is there a God? That's all the way
That's
through
repeated
there.
All the way through the book.
Yeah.
Is God willing if there's a God? I hope God if there's a God. So you're constantly questioning that throughout.
Yeah, it was I didn't even know I had all this in my head, but it was a whole other way to create. It wasn't jokes, and I liked writing it. It wasn't a burden. I never got like, oh, when is it going to be done? Oh, no one was waiting for it. I had no book or deal or anything. Again, it was like playing. Like when you were joking, you were joking with the thing outside, and they said, oh, we should use that as a bit. So I would just try to write a little bit of it every day. And then coffee, I have to thank coffee because my mind goes insane on coffee. And I would drink the coffee, and I had like a 2-hour window where I would just it became a little world that I would go to. And I tried not to think about how is this going to be received? What are they going to think?
Right.
I was just like playing. Oh.
The comedy I've always loved the most is when the person providing it doesn't need to please me.
When I first started writing it, I realized there was no story. And then I thought, I can't keep this. There's no story. And then I thought, I don't know how. So I stopped for a year. I thought, I don't know how to write a story. I don't know how. Yeah. And then I thought, a year later, I thought, so what? I want to just write it anyway.
Right,
so it's not like this happened and then this happened and then he did and then because of that. Yeah. So I just accepted that I didn't know how to write a story. So that's just went.
The other thing I love is Harold's voice, very much like your voice, but I'm imagining you as a kid. But there's a great thing where his teacher is prominent because she's running the class the whole time. Harold is thinking all these incredible things and having these journeys in his mind. And every now and at one point, he remembers a time that she came up and looked at what he was drawing, at what Harold was drawing, and said, "That's really beautifully done. You did a really good job here, Harold." And he said, "How dare you judge me?" Because even flattery is a judgment.
It's a judgment.
It's a judgment. It's just packed with those things. So I hope you write more, but if all you wrote was this, that is plenty, because it is fantastic. It's really good.
Thank you so much.
And you're such a great, inspirational and fascinating person to talk to and laugh with that I hope you come back.
I would love to.
You're one of those people who needs to come back.
I would love it.
And we can have more competing analogies.
More soup analogies, bro.
Or we can maybe change it to.
No, I would love it.
Our brains are like, crackers, and yours is a dry Dutch cracker that's got a high seed count. It's very good for your bowels. And I'm like this rich, savory, buttery cracker.
I noticed that all yours are always
they're good.
better than mine.
Oh yeah,
I see a pattern.
Yeah, there's a pattern here. Yeah, but
I think you are one of the fastest, incredible comedy minds ever. That's what I would say to people. What is it like going on there? I said, you know what? I say something, hope it's funny. But if it's not, it doesn't matter because you're like a laser. It's incredible, really incredible.
Coming from you, that's huge. So I get
Yes, I mean that. It's unbelievable.
To feel good about myself for an hour. There's no higher praise I could get than a compliment from you. So seriously, we all owe you. I mean, but you changed everything for so many of us. And we're lucky that you came along. We really are. I know you say it's a quirk, it's an accident, but you also, and I do think I give it up for quirks and accidents, but there's also integrity and hard work and being a good person, and those things aren't quirks. So that makes it all wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's never speak again.
All right.
I have a topic I wanted to bring up with you, which is near and dear to my heart because it's been the root of this podcast I've been doing for about 5 years. I get to talk to a lot of, quote, important people that have achieved amazing things. And when I try to get them to talk about the things that they thought of as maybe a disability or a problem when they were younger that helped fuel them, that when they were younger, they desperately wished it would go away. They thought of it as a weakness. But when they look at the span of their life now, they see that actually helped forge them. And I know you've talked about this, but when you were growing up and stuttered, and it must have been the fuel in some ways to have pushed you forward.
Well, when I was a kid.
You've got this problem licked, by the way.
For me, it was, I was really lucky. I had a mother and a father that my mother would say, "Don't let this define you. Look at me, Joey. You're handsome, you're smart, you're a decent young man. Don't let this define you." It taught me how to fight. There used to be a joke when I was growing up in grade school and high school that, you could beat up Biden, but he'd hurt you going down.
Right.
The point was that it made me realize in our family, this is God's truth, Conan, the four of us, we were never allowed to make fun of anyone, no matter how mean they were to us, if they had something they couldn't overcome.
Right.
Swear to God, if you did, you get your rear end kicked when you went home. Right. Not a joke. And so it taught me that there's a lot of people dealing with dilemmas that take away their pride, their dignity. Yeah. I don't know whether it's a thing that pushed me about like, for example, even though I was a stutterer, I ended up being elected the class president kind of thing. I mean, but it wasn't, I didn't run for that reason. It was something about your dignity and your pride.
Yeah.
It doesn't just manifest itself in terms of an impediment. You can, for example, when we were kids, there were a couple hard times financially for my dad. And I remember being invited to, I was talking this about my sister last night, my best friend, and we were going to a cotillion at Mount Pleasant High School, which was rated the best high school in Delaware, in an area that was not overwhelming, but affluent area. Mm-hmm. And we lived in not bad area, but a less affluent area. Mm-hmm. And I was invited to the cotillion. And I went to the Catholic school, St. Helena's in that district. And it was, just a little different. I remember being invited, and I was anxious to go. And my mom, I had an uncle who lived with us at the time. He was 5'7", and my mom couldn't find a white shirt for me. And so we got one of his shirts, and with French cuffs on it, and my mother, and it fit loosely, but it fit. My dad had always wore cufflinks to work, and my dad had the cufflinks. We couldn't find it. I didn't know what to do. So my mom goes downstairs over the washing machine in the basement, in the garage level, and gets 2 nuts and bolts and brings them up and puts them on me. And I said, no, swear to God, my word.
Today, that's a fashion statement.
And I said, Mom, I can't go. They're going to make fun of me. I said, Joey, if anyone makes fun of you, you turn around and say, you don't have a pair? I swear to God, true, on the health of my children. So I go to the punch bowl, and and this guy, Frank, grabs me and says, hey, look at Biden, nuts and bolts. And everybody started to laugh, and I said, Frank, you don't have a pair of these? I swear to God. I swear to God. He turned and said, yeah, I have them. I have them. Anyway.
My theory is that if you stay connected to these things that embarrassed you when you were a kid, whatever it was, speech impediment or anxiety or feeling awkward or not being a good athlete, my list goes on and on and on. Having weird hair, having a weird name.
I wish I had your hair. I'd trade right now if you want.
You want this hair? It comes off. It velcros on the back. Yeah.
If I could do it, I would do it.
I will mail you this wig tomorrow. Do some polling first on how people are going to think about that. But I think what it does is that it gives you empathy. I think empathy comes from a sense, if you've felt that pain, if you see someone else and you sense that maybe they're feeling that pain, you're awakened to it. And that's, I think, the superpower that comes from it is you have...
I'm certain you're right. When I got elected, I was down here hiring staff. I was using Senator Kennedy's office over in the Capitol to interview staff. And I got a phone call from my fire department. They put a young woman on the phone, and she said, there's been an accident. You got to come home December 18th. I wasn't sworn in yet. And he said, there's been your wife is Christmas shop with your kids. My kids were then 13 months old, almost 3 and almost 4. And she was so nervous. She said, they're dead. And I was enraged by it. I remember going out of the Capitol and looking up in the dome. I swear to God, I'm embarrassed about it. And the guy had cut. I just screamed and didn't know when my boys were alive. They were badly injured, skull fracture and a bow at every bone of his body broken. Virtually, he was in a body cast, arms, legs. Anyway, what I learned, though, is that after that, when I'd show up at a friend's viewing, a family viewing, and they'd stop everything. The family would stop, even if they didn't know, and they'd come to me, just come to me. And I realized What they're really saying is he lost what we lost, and he made it. He's still walking.
Yeah.
People have to know
that you can persevere, you know.
Yeah. And if you made it through, they think, well, maybe I can't. Maybe I will. I've spent a lot of time over my career with families that are going through tough times.
Yeah.
Because it gives them some solace. And I want to make clear, I was really lucky.
Yeah.
I had enormous help. By the time I came home, my sister and her husband had given up their apartment and already moved in to help me raise the kids. My brother did. We have an expression in our family for real. If you have to ask, it's too late. If you have to ask, it's too late. I never had to ask. And think of the people who've gone through the stuff that we're talking about. They're heroes. They get up every day, put one foot in front of the other, and do it by themselves. So I had an enormous advantage dealing with my things I went through.
I try to impart that to my kids, that whatever you're going through, even if you're miserable right now, it's going to yield something later on. Of course, what you're describing is the worst thing anybody can describe. And what they're going through usually is something extremely minor. The scale of it, it's the same principle, which is...
Absolutely. The scale varies, but the help needed.
Can you watch yourself? Are you
Absolutely.
How refreshing.
As much as possible. My God, I'm on a loop in my house. Even on the bathroom and the toilet. No. On the bathroom and the toilet, on the TV in the toilet. I don't even have a TV in the toilet. You can tell because I can't even say that.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's
I'm very
fantastic.
comfortable watching myself.
That's great.
Like watching my work back for numerous reasons. Particularly on Blackish and stuff, being able to see how something's being shot, what's being covered, what's working, what isn't working. I'm very vain, but I'm not very critical of, particularly with acting. Like I like when my face does weird things. When I watched Candy Cane Lane, my response was, oh, great. My wig didn't look wiggy, and boy, do I make stupid facial expressions. I mean, the camera cuts to me, and I'm like, what the fuck? My face is like, I love how stupid my face is.
You know what's so funny? It feels to me like...
I just love that it does dumb things, and I'm not... Because, you look at some actresses sometimes, and the camera comes back to them, and they're like... and you're like, what is that? What is that? Are you putting mascara on?
Are you embalmed?
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting because I wonder if growing up with such an iconic mom in music and singer, and I mean, it's just, and in movies, if you knew early on, I can be really funny in a way that sets me apart. It's my thing. Does that make sense? In one sense, it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't a conscious sort of shift. But like when I was 22, my mom said to me, it's time for you to record an album, because I sang all through growing up. And I was like, no way. Like it felt too scary. I don't know that I consciously went towards being funny, but my dad, my personality is like his. He's hilarious. And I loved Carol Burnett and Lucille Ball growing up. Yep. And I felt a real kinship with that kind of screwballness and the ability to kind of not care what you look like, which is, I think, because I've never done stand-up, although I really want to. But the ability to kind of have that freedom in your body. Yes.
But it definitely has been my path, I mean, my name is Joy. My middle name is Joy. I wonder if it's I just came out kind of bubbly.
Right.
But I don't know. It's such an interesting thing. I think I grew up always wanting to be a woman in a sparkly dress on a stage. And I got...
Me too.
Right? How's that going?
Wrist treatments. It's more expensive than I thought.
It's like skiing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because one of the things you said that I can relate to is one of the things that I've always loved about comedy is there's no vanity. Like I never think about how... I'll admit, there are some times lately with high-def cameras and as I age where I'm like, oh my God, couldn't someone have told me that half my face rotted off before we shot that thing? But mostly, couldn't they have done some taped that up a little bit before I went out there.
Or put some Vaseline on the screen, on the lens.
But mostly, I know that if people like what I'm doing, it's not because they want to break off a chunk of that. They're just, I'm sorry. That's a phrase that's going to stick.
Ride that horse.
I want to ride that horse and then break off a chunk.
Just no. I'm going to have nightmares. Okay, sorry.
Well, that's what I do for women. but I like the surrendering of vanity that goes a lot with comedy.
Love it so much.
And you know, you reference Lucille Ball, and what people often forget and you don't think about it is, you know, you and Lucille Ball are very beautiful women who then do comedy really well. And so there's this thing where you can, I mean, Lucille Ball was stunningly glamorous, but felt nothing about, oh yeah, put a prosthetic nose on and let's have it catch fire. Mm-hmm. Or let's have me crying and have my face contorted. Let's have me stuffing chocolates into my mouth as you guys recreated on the Emmys the other night. Like, this is just something that I love is the surrendering all of that. Yeah, sure, I can look amazing if I want to, but I'm doing this right now.
I think there's also for me like a sense of pure freedom where like every choice is yours. And that for me, that it's like literally from my little toe to the hairs on my head get to participate in the thing I'm doing. And I just, and I do love that there's no vanity involved. There really isn't for me. I think the uglier I look, the better I think it is. I think it's funnier when there's a selflessness to how you lean in there. That Lucy bit was, I think...
It was you, Natasha Lyonne, we recreating the chocolate conveyor belt at the Emmys.
I do believe, I literally, before we went on stage, I was like, I mean, the little girl in me was jumping up and down. She was like so excited and so excited.
And then they forgot the prop of the papers.
Oh.
We had it in every rehearsal. And I was trying to explain because people were like, it was so funny. I was like, but you have to understand, if you understand comedy, if you have nowhere to go, and you have to start at the top, then it's not, you can't do the thing you do because there's nothing to work from.
Right.
So it was slapstick. And we went there. It was fine. I went there. I mean, I got to tell you guys, an hour later after we took the wig off and the eyelashes, I took the smock thing off. There was a piece of chocolate. It was like it had melted, so it was from up here. I was like from between my boobs down to my like the top of my underwear, and it was just mush chocolate everywhere. And then the caramel was all that was left, so it was just like a piece of caramel on my belly button. It was fantastic. I stuffed a lot of chocolate in my gown, in my little dress. It was dropping out while I was reading the presentation.
Because it has to be, yeah. There's just a trail of chocolate following you wherever you go.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Amy Sedaris, who is also, she's a very attractive person who goes out of her way and has her whole life to tape up her nose, do anything she could, wear old ladies' clothes. She was doing this when she was a kid, and it would drive her mother crazy because her mother was saying, you're an attractive young woman. What are you doing?
My mom would always say, fix your face. Why are you making all those face? Like, what did I would be telling a story and she would like touch between my eyes and be like, I'm like, I'm trying to tell a story. Sorry, Amy Sedaris.
No, it's the same. Your poor mom. My mom with me, I was constantly contorting my face and doing over the top bits. And she would say, your face is going to freeze that way. It's going to freeze. It's going to freeze. And I thought, well, first of all, that would be cool. Because I could go through life like, it'd be great if
and it did freeze that way.
I could work in the circus and it would just be like, I don't know, it'd be a lot of fun. I wasn't scared of my face freezing, but when I did over the top bits, she was and I think
I have two great stories
there's this on this podcast, we never get to great stories. I won't allow it.
No, I'm going to say I have one, but I'm not going to tell it. You guys, I have two great fucking stories like that.
Yeah, there's no time. Anyway, so the other day, I'm having this beef stew, and this beef stew,
it had beef in it, you guys.
It had beef in it. Who knew? All right, go. Tell us these. But I mean, we were talking about contorting your faces,
and parents
freaking out.
Mom's responses. So one was, my grandmother used to say that it was Tracy had the 12-year-old, the 10-year-old giggles, the 11-year-old, and then it was just like, okay, they're not going anywhere. Yeah. And so I was just like, get it out of my body, I couldn't get it out. I was like, it's dinner time. And it would drive my sister crazy. Rhonda was like, oh my God, and my mom was like, Tracy, would you like to go outside and get the giggles out? And I would be like, I would like to go outside and get the giggles out. So I would go out of the door, the sliding glass door outside dinner. My family's in there just eating dinner. And I'm out like bouncing outside the door. And I'm like, and I'd come back in and I'd be like, she'd be like, did you get him out? I'd be like, I don't know. No, I think there's more. And I'd go back out, go back. So that's one story. And the poor mom, trying to do her best. Little Diana Ross sitting there like, oh my God, I made a problem child. So then the other is when I moved out here to LA, my mom is Diana Ross, just for reference on this story. I take full responsibility for her career. Anyway.
You made her.
I did. If it weren't for me, I don't know, those Supremes. Ain't no mountain high enough. What? The boss? Who knew? No one. None of it. Central Park concert? That was my idea.
That was your idea.
Anyway, so when I moved out here to LA, I had my version of no money. So I'm just going to be honest. My version of no money was like I had my mom's credit card. I was living in a beautiful apartment, but I had no cash. Okay. So I used to do things that I could do with the credit card. Like I would ask people if they wanted me to get them gas, or like at dinner, I'd be like, I'll pay, give me the cash. Like I was like an ATM, right?
Yep.
So I made a video, a DVD. At the time, it was a VHS video of me doing all my characters because I used to tell stories as these different people. So I dressed up in all these different. There was Madame Hiver, who I still do. There was Susie Sushi. There was Broadway Girl, who was singing an improv Christmas holiday song. All this stuff, and then I old school edited it together, and I sent out 52 videos to everyone in my world saying Happy Holidays. And at the end of it, it said No Judgment, Happy Holidays, and it was me like doing a ridiculous. It was insane. I go home for Christmas, and my mom's like, "Can we talk?" And I was like, yeah, what's up? Let's go to my room. Oh, shit. You know, if your mom wants to bring you to the room. So we sit down on the edge, on the side of her bed. She's sitting next to me. She was like, how many of those... She was so serious. How many of those videos did you send out? I said, 52. And she was like, can we get them back? I was like, what? No. I think she literally was like, this is a comment on my parenting. Like, I failed my child. And she has sent out like a calling card of like the failed parenting.
Oh my God.
She later understood, but I do think it was a little bit like, what have I done?
Like it was going to end up on Inside Edition of what is Diana Ross doing to her children?
Her children!
Yes.
Like the other ones are fine.
To do 35 characters.
Try dancing for her wares.
One Key is a travel awards program designed for anyone who goes anywhere. Wow, that's a large group. Use and earn One Key rewards on Expedia, Hotels.com, and Vrbo. So you can earn One Key cash on a cruise, then use it on an eligible vacation home. Yeah, you'll start saving as soon as you join. Take a flight, pick a rental car, stay 3 nights in a hotel, and get to Silver Tier in a single trip. And Silver, Gold, and Platinum members get extra perks like room upgrades, where available, and free breakfast. Oh man, that's my favorite breakfast. Unlock rewards on your next trip with One Key. Rewards on any way you travel.
It's been a while, but you remember we used to listen to voicemails from people that would call in and we'd answer their questions?
Yes, back in olden times.
Yeah, well, we don't have any today, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Our system for collecting voicemails has failed us.
What?
And now we have a brand new phone number.
Wait, first of all,
yeah.
How long has this been going on for, and why wasn't I made aware?
It's been going on for a while.
What kind of shitty organization do we have here?
Oh, a shitty one.
Okay. Of the shitty ones, this is the shittiest. I'm just curious. Have people been trying to leave messages and they couldn't?
I believe they either couldn't or we couldn't retrieve them because it had something to do with us leaving an old network that we used to belong to, and changing companies.
Is it possible that people have been leaving messages out there for us and we haven't been getting them?
It's possible.
That's terrible.
In fact, I'd say it's likely.
That's awful. I feel badly. What if people were really needing us or needing our help?
The number just got disconnected. People have not been leaving messages that we haven't retrieved.
Blay, you're killing the drama.
Oh, this is drama?
I'm going to shut up.
No, Blay, I'm glad.
No, cut this
Was
part.
this supposed to be-
No, don't
this
cut it.
supposed to be dramatic?
No, don't cut it. That's actually good information.
I didn't mean to ruin the drama.
That's actually good information for me to have, because it would kill me if people were leaving us messages. I have a need to please. So, Blay, I'm glad you grabbed the mic in your Hawaiian shirt and told us.
Well, it's got flowers on it, and not every flowered shirt is a Hawaiian shirt.
He's right.
Now you can cut this part out.
No. Sorry, Jerry Garcia. I didn't.
I'm sorry.
Maybe it isn't a Hawaiian shirt.
But no, sorry. I don't mean to kill the
I
drama.
hope you can get the band back together. You guys were really grooving there for a while. I am glad. And stop telling us what we can cut and can't cut. We're going to leave this all in.
Okay.
People need to know what a stumblebum you are.
I'm sorry. Anyway, don't worry. No messages were left that you don't know about. It just the number just
It
doesn't
failed
exist.
a long time ago, and no one did anything about it.
Yes.
I mean, there are messages that the listeners don't know about, because I would say 1 out of every 50,000 is usable.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a terrible thing to say. Why?
Well, they're just sometimes raving lunacy on there. And I'm not even joking.
Well, wait a minute. Maybe my father's in trouble.
But maybe we should talk about some tips for the listener, because we have a new phone number.
Oh, we've got a new number.
That if you want to
good.
get your voicemail on the podcast, here are some tips.
Yes,
We can talk about how.
We have tips?
Well, I could think of a few.
Okay.
Yeah. First of all, should we read the number and then we'll read it again?
I'll read the
end?
number.
Okay.
If you want to contact us, or if you're a raving lunatic that wants to scream into the void, call 669-587-2847. That number again, 669-587-2847.
Keep it concise, keep it friendly, keep it fun. Those are my tips.
You know what? I'm going to guess that anyone who was calling and leaving angry, insane messages, I think your tip's probably going to change their mind. Oh, gourley, I just heard it. You don't want me to call and yell into the phone anymore about the spaceman and the dragon in my ass. Best not call that number then. I'll try it again. Hello, how are you? I'm an Aries. I'm curious what sign you guys are. Yeah, that message will do no, but your little tips will do no good.
I thought we could also, because Sona's going to leave the outgoing message.
Oh, I am?
We can just do that right now, and listeners can hear it, and then we'll take that and we'll use it.
Yeah, let's use it. Sona, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey, you called us, and this is why are you giving me the phone number?
So you can say it.
Hi, but they called the number to get to the voicemail.
Right. You're just congratulating them that they got it right.
Hi, you called this number and you heard a dial tone. Not a dial. You heard the beep, and then you're leaving a message.
Keep it concise.
Keep it concise.
I'm friendly.
And friendly.
Say your name.
Say your name. And hey, you might hear your message on the podcast. And we will get back to you as soon as we can. No, we're not going to get back to them. Are we going to get back to them?
This is the worst outgoing message I've ever heard. This is, I think, the worst outgoing message in the history of the world.
When you tell me to do something like this, it gets me very nervous.
I forgot Sona's personal little quirk is that if you give her a task, she's terrible.
Thank you for calling.
I mean, people will say like, "Oh, you guys were the Fish of hip hop, or the Grateful Dead of hip hop," but it's like we were dependable and responsible. Yeah. So our job was to stand by in the waiting room. It was good survival, but it really wasn't conducive for like having a steady relationship.
Yeah,
there are kids in the factor now, and you know, so we around like 2009, it was sort of. Like, man, we wish like a Celine Dion situation would happen that would...
A residency.
Yeah, a residency.
You want a residency.
We just got to the mountaintop of like making good money. Like, we finally made it. And it's like, do we just turn our back on this and try something unproven? And we did it for us. That was what we needed to actually bond and be friends again.
Yeah.
There was a moment. I know I'm loquacious. Give me a safe word like pineapple or something if I'm talking too much. Like I see you're turning maroon right now.
No, I'm good.
That's his normal color.
Yeah,
okay.
That's just me. When you see, those are called veins in my head.
Okay.
That's how white I am.
So there's a moment that happened around 2006, maybe 3 years before we did Fallon, and we're on tour with the Chili Peppers, and it's a European tour, and they're playing like soccer stadium. I'm sorry, post Lasso football stadiums.
Right.
And, it's like 80,000 to 120,000 a night. And every 3 to 4 songs, those guys get into sort of a football magic circle huddle. And by the 4th time they do this, I'm thinking like, oh, they're going to call an audible and change up the set list. And then they go back to their instruments. And then I have the set list in my hand. I'm like, wait, they didn't change anything. They didn't change the arrangement. So I'm waiting like days down the line, like, why do they keep having these little meetings every like 5 songs and nothing changes from what I know the show to be? It's like muscle memory. I see Flea in catering, and I'm like, dude, what are you guys talking about when you go into that huddle? And Flea's like, yo, man, it's like, I don't know, man. We're so full of gratitude. Like we're just 4 guys that, we met each other when we were 13 and we're in the da-da-da stadium with 120,000 people, and we're just showing gratitude to each other. Like, guys, we really made it. So this is 2006. I'm not evolved yet as a human being. So I get on the tour bus, and I'm like, yo, man, them motherfuckers just like hippie shit like, oh, we're so happy to be amongst, like I'm really just like, being dismissive of it. Like, that's what they're doing. And my manager's like, yeah, well, makes sense. Like, yeah, I can see that because they like each other. That's cool. I was like, yeah, So I go back and start playing plays. Wait, what do you mean they actually like each other? And he's like, I see that. They actually, it's not like a Goodfellas thing, like, what do you mean I'm funny? But it was sort of like, well, what do you mean they actually like each other? Like, why'd you say actually? He's like, you see the chemistry. Like, they fuck with each other. I can see that. And I was like, as opposed to what? He's like, come on, man. And I was like, as opposed to what? He's like, come on, man. Don't make me spell it out. I said, what? He said, man, y'all don't fuck with each other. Y'all just show up. Maybe y'all come to sound check. Y'all show up at backstage. Y'all do it off memory. You're the one that named the tour buses Gryffindor and Slytherin. Like, it's like, you got your own separate tour buses. Y'all don't spend the night at each other's houses. Y'all ain't friends. Y'all just business partners. He's like, it's cool. Like, keep the peace.
That's funny that you didn't know. You didn't know.
Well, I thought, look, by that point, we had known we met in 87. And it's now 2007. Like, it's 20 years later. Like, what do you mean we're not friends? And then I realized, oh, shit, we're really not friends. Like, we're just, like, 9 strangers that just play the same songs every night, and that's it. And so what wound up happening at Fallon is Jimmy has a way of disarming you. And I'll say, at least for the first 6 years, like, we were 13-year-olds. We were 13-year-olds in adults' bodies doing, we could do silly things and not feel like, like, oh, we're going to lose our street cred because we're doing silly shit. There's a moment when Jimmy officially pitched us, and we're doing like some spring fling at UCLA or something. And I'm quasi spokesperson for the group. And so I had to do an interview like with the college paper or something. So I went in the trailer, did my interview, came back 20 minutes later, and we're on UCLA's football field. And Jimmy, all right, this is going to be my worst reference. And I'm in my head like, please don't say this reference.
Can we just take a guess around the table what this is going to be first?
You go first.
Wait, I'll give you a hint. No, I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
Willie Ames.
Oh, Zapped?
or
Oh,
Charles
good
in
one.
Charge?
God damn, you're good.
Zapped?
This is why Matt's the man.
Yeah, Zapped, the movie where Scott Baio can make people's bras fly off.
It's either that or Charles in Charge or Bible Man.
How do you, well, no, where he first started, which was eight is enough.
Enough.
Okay.
So Jimmy somehow has talked the Roots into doing an 8-man human period.
Pyramid.
Period.
A human period I don't know as much about. Anyone want to weigh in?
Oh God,
I guess stick with pyramid.
I have to. Okay.
Yeah, so they're doing a human pyramid, and it wouldn't have fazed me more, but Tariq and I are such polar opposites of each other by this point. Tariq is one of those $5,000 Japanese denim wearing fashionistas.
Yeah.
Of which I was like, yo, he's really on the bottom row on his knee. Like, he's ruining his denim. He would never do this. He's one of those Jesus Christ, not spot nor wrinkle. Meanwhile, I will go to the White House with mustard stains on my on my tux. And I looked at my manager and I was just like, we're not getting rid of this guy anytime soon, right? And my manager was just like, we're stuck with him. Literally, Jimmy would not let up until we committed to him, and he just just did it. And so what I'll say is now the amount of being in the gym on that show has actually made us friends again.
Yeah.
And so now I feel like, even though this is our 30th year as a band, I really feel like it's our 7th year.
I've heard you talk in interviews, especially lately, because of 80 for Brady and a bunch of your recent films, that comedy came to you late. First of all, you're hilariously funny. I thought Cat Ballou, that's a fantastic comedy. That was your, I think, first big hit, and you were funny then. Why was it a surprise to you later on that you were adept?
If somebody is writing funny dialogue for me, and the setup is funny, I can be funny.
Yeah.
I'm naturally kind of depressed. My dad, my mom suffered from depression, but I have spent 80 years trying to get over that. And, I've really worked hard to not be a depressed person, but I'm basically earnest. I can tell when I'm sitting with Lily, somebody will come up and ask us a question, and she will automatically answer something that is hysterical.
Yeah.
And I'm going to answer the question. You know what I mean? Just plain Jane.
Well, wait a minute.
You know who really helped me?
Who?
Ted. Spending 10 years with Ted, who is hysterical.
Ted Turner's a funny man.
Oh, my God, he is funny. And outrageous.
Yeah.
And I saw it's okay to be outrageous.
Yeah.
And that really helped me.
He seems to not care what anybody else is thinking.
He's like a sieve. It just all comes out. But his take on life is just like Lily's, is inherently funny.
I just think it's unfair to you to say, I don't think I'm gifted in comedy because when I'm sitting next to Lily Tomlin, it's you're grading yourself on this crazy scale. Yes, Lily Tomlin is one of the greats.
In the stratosphere.
Well, yeah, she's in the stratosphere. But you walked into our podcast building and had the room laughing right away. And so,
It's because of Ted Turner. No, it is.
Okay, all right. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
it is.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. We, for years on my show, when I moved to Turner Network, because it was Turner Network, we had a very talented actor from Saturday Night Live portray Ted Turner. He'd come in to give me advice on a stuffed buffalo.
Will Forte.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just didn't want to. I don't want Turner to go after Will Forte. I want him just coming after me. No, I'm kidding. He would come in and go, yeah, and give me all this advice, and the crowd always loved it. And I thought, someday I'm going to walk out in the parking lot, and Ted Turner is going to pistol whip me, and then ride off on his stuffed buffalo.
He has the largest private herd of buffalo in the world. He brought back the bison. Actually, that's the way that they're called.
I don't see how I compete with these other men that you've had in your life.
I don't think you do.
Okay,
I think
all
you
right,
just
thanks,
accept
guys.
defeat. I'm sorry.
Accept defeat gracefully.
No, nobody can compete with Ted.
Yeah. It sounds like it. I thought the buffalo thing was a bit, but it's not.
No, he has.
That's incredible.
Since he was a child, he's been obsessed with bison, and he's grown a herd. He had 10,000 when I married him, and now, he buys property. He's got a couple of million acres in order to grow his bison herd.
It's amazing.
Wow. I'd heard that.
You heard that.
I heard
about the herd. You heard about the herd.
I heard about the herd.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah, that's a well-known fact.
I'm sorry.
You should
I don't know anything.
Do a little reading, Sona.
He has 2 million acres.
Oh my.
And he has gone about bringing back endangered, not just mammal species, but insects and plants.
Wow.
Biologists live on all his properties, and they bring back species. It's amazing what he's done.
Because the buffalo was more or less extinct.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how many heads of buffalo there are in the U.S. now, but the fact that you can eat
looked at me like I would know.
Because you're always weighing in with these facts.
Oh, am I?
Eduardo's looking it up.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Bison.
Feed it to me, Eduardo, like I knew.
Yeah. What a waste of our time with Jane looking up buffalo facts.
I know.
So what's next? Because you are a real inspiration.
I'm going to the Gulf, Louisiana and Texas, which is kind of the ground zero for the climate crisis.
Right.
The Biden administration has permitted 24 new gas terminals in places where people are dying from cancer and heart disease and lung disease because of the proximity of petrochemical plants and there's even a place called Cancer Alley in Louisiana, but there's all these new efforts to drill and frack more, okay? And this is a no-no. Science is very clear. We can't completely do away with fossil fuels yet, but we can gradually phase them out.
Yep.
But we have to stop any new drilling and fracking, and we don't need new drilling and fracking except to get those guys richer than they already are.
Right.
We don't need to do that anymore, and we have to stop the Biden administration from doing this. So I'm going to try to go there with Fire Drill Fridays and interview and film people who are dealing with this on the ground and then, build it up as an issue.
Can I ask you how many times you've been arrested? Do you know?
I think 7. That's not a lot. Martin Sheen's been arrested 70 times. It's called civil
But only some of that
disobedience.
was for activism. He's always punching people for no reason. And
No, not the son, the father.
You're right. I'm sorry, I got confused with Charlie for a second. Yeah.
But Charlie's okay now.
Yeah, he's doing fine.
Yeah, he's doing great.
fine. Well, this has been, we've been doing this, how long have we been doing this podcast?
Oh,
I don't
4
know.
years?
5 years, almost 5.
This is a huge highlight for me. It's an absolute.
Thank you. For me too.
This, boy. I'm really blown away. We were all so excited that you were coming here today, and you've been a big part of my life. I mean, I adore your work, and
Thank you.
And then you walk in today, and you are stunning. You are so
you.
beautiful and so funny
Takes a
and
village.
so smart. Well, I'd like your people. They need to work on me because
No, you're doing just fine.
we'll work it out. Yeah, I got to do it. Maybe I should release an exercise video.
Oh,
yes,
gosh.
please.
Just me getting up and then sitting back down again.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's not going to happen. Jane, thank you so much for
If
doing
I
this.
ever did a new video, would you do it with me?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Yes, I would.
I'm going to take you up on it.
Yes,
Yeah,
I will find a very clingy unitard.
Yes.
Settle down, Gourley.
I've got
Of course
mixed
I would.
feelings.
Yeah, it will hurt your sales tremendously.
Yeah.
But we'll
No,
get
it
some.
wouldn't.
No.
You're very popular.
Well, thank you.
Wait
Know
till
that.
this comes out.
Jane, thank you so much.
Thank you,
This is an
Conan.
honor. Thank
I appreciate you having me on.
you. Wow.
Goodbye to all your listeners. JanePack.com is how you can join me in my climate work.
JanePack.com. Do that now.
Obviously, getting this late night gig, which is so different than your show because it's like a fake game show and it's, like a reimagining of At Midnight. And there were a lot of people because we did so much press after it was announced before we were actually doing the show. And so I did all these interviews where people like weren't totally sure what it was, or like a lot of people online when it came out were like, we thought this was a talk show and CBS screwed Taylor Tomlinson. And I'm like, we were never doing a talk show, everybody. Like I tour on the weekends. Like I'm not going to do a show Monday through Friday. It's funny because people keep saying like, oh, it's your show. And I'm like, it's really not. Like this is like, if anything, our show. Like it's such a great team of people. And it's why I wanted to do the show, because I wanted to like have these coworkers.
Yes,
it was like,
yeah.
I'm like, I want to have fun with all these people and make a new thing every day. But like, they were asking me questions like, so when you designed the set, I'm like, I didn't design the set. And they're like, when you're booking the show, I'm like, I don't book the show. They're like, well, when you hired the writers, I'm like, I didn't hire the writers and I want them to like me so bad. I'm like, I'm like, I can't take credit for anything about this show. I don't dress myself. Like,
right.
I show up, someone does my hair and makeup, they put me in clothes. I'm like an American Girl doll that they just kind of cart around. Like, I'm like, everyone on that show, I think, probably has a harder job than I do.
First of all, there's so many things I can relate to, which is I was the same age as you when I started my show. And yeah, they were very different shows, but it's still that thing of, I remember first of all, your experience was doing stand-up, which is very solitary.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I always wanted was I wanted a pirate ship with my fellow pirates. I always wanted that. And I had it in ways when I worked on Saturday Night Live or The Simpsons. I loved that we're all in this together, but it wasn't my pirate ship. And then I just loved having these people and like you, got these writers, and I just so wanted them, because no one knew who I was. I wanted them to think I was funny, the writers. So I would do bits for them all the time. I worked harder trying to make the writers laugh than on anything for the show, because I really wanted those people to think that, oh yeah, no, he's okay. He's all right. Which was so screwy because I was supposedly the host of the show.
Right.
But I understand that wanting to be, or how nice it is to have a group. It must feel good after all that time on the road where it's just you and a microphone.
Yeah. And also like, I don't know if you felt this way. I mean, you were using cue cards, right?
Yep.
Okay. We have a teleprompter. It's like a little computer and they type out. It's like a cue card, but it's
like some
machine.
kind of, like a machine.
Yeah.
You know, I never had a teleprompter, ever.
Never?
No, because we changed things too much at the last second, and so we always did cards. And so we
changed things in the teleprompter.
It's easier to just type it in, right?
Yeah.
Jesus, they lied to me. They said, well, that'll can't happen on a prompter. I think it was they just didn't want to buy one. It was NBC and then Turner. They just didn't want to buy a prompter.
Yeah, because I still have my Conan cue card because they give it to you when you do a late night show, which was very nice.
We want it back, by the way. Those things aren't cheap.
Well, now I know how hard it was. They're like, we got to cut a whole new one because you don't like that line.
Every time we wrote a new joke, a tree fell in the forest somewhere.
When I did like the screen test and everything, and even when I started doing the show, everyone's like so impressed when you can read a teleprompter to a point where I was like, do people think I'm dumb? Like, I know I didn't finish college, but not like you, I didn't finish Harvard. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
and I studied telepromptering.
Yeah. But everyone was just like, it's really hard. Some people don't know how to read teleprompters. And I was like, okay, like, I'll take any credit you'll give me. But this was, again, I was like so nervous about it. I was practicing reading teleprompters on TikTok. Local news anchors will do like, now for a teleprompter challenge. And so I was just reading like 5-car pileup on today's freeway, like, but in a funny way. I'm like, pretend like it's the show. And they're like, let's see how fast you can read it.
There's all these little things, and then there's the big thing.
Yeah.
So there's all the little things that, yes, that I think anyone can learn. It just takes a little time, but you just learn the stuff about getting new information, getting information off a card or off a prompter, and which cameras are where and where your single is. Those are things I think that anyone can pick up. And then there's the much bigger thing, which is how to be you in a very strange environment. I've always thought that is the thing that no one's thinking about, is the advice you get and the advice this is the biggest name drop of all time for my generation anyway, but just before I started, I got to meet Johnny Carson, and he knew that I was going to be taking over the late night show, and he said, just be yourself. And I was like, okay. And then I did the show for a couple of months and no one liked it. And I always pictured that Johnny Carson would call me and say, I didn't know that that was you.
Have you tried being me?
Could you maybe find someone else to be me? But I always realized that it's more complicated than just be yourself, because it's just be yourself in the most artificial environment in the world, which is 3, 2, 1, and Taylor, go.
Yeah.
And prompter and lights and music. And okay, now we're going to these people and this is going to happen. And it just took me a long time to realize, oh, this is the skill, is I need to figure out how can I just be this person that I am. I didn't want to be a fake person. I wanted to be a real person, but in a freakish environment.
Yeah.
And that's what those things are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I say to the live audience we have in studio sometimes, because I'll be like playing off the comedians we have on the show, and then I have to go to the next game, which is me reading the teleprompter. And so we're like, oh yeah, it's great. And then I go, all right, I have to go back into teleprompter again. And I know it's going to feel jarring to just be like, and yeah, totally. And we know each other. In today's internet news, and it just feels so, but you're like, okay, just everyone I know too, and it's gonna cut together great. Like, just It's very strange, and figuring out how to deliver jokes I didn't write, because I'm just not used to that. I've been writing my own jokes for like 10 years, 14 years on the road, and like that is me. So it's not hard to be myself on stage doing stand-up. But yeah, in this environment, like it is very easy to read jokes that were written for me by a room full of very funny people. But yeah, it's also hard to deliver them in a way that feels authentic.
I'm thinking of your famous joke. I want you to do it, but I went into a restaurant that said they serve breakfast anytime.
So I ordered French toast during the Renaissance.
It's just like, I have always had this theory that a good joke actually has weight. Like the way an element does. Like you can almost feel the weight of it in the palm of your hand.
It's fascinating, the details of it all. Not connected to time. But that French toast joke, that was one of the only jokes I ever adjusted. Because usually when I think of something, then I think of the wording, bang, 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 and then that's it. It's never changed. But that joke, it wasn't the Renaissance. It was something else. Mm-hmm. I don't remember. It was another reference to time.
Right.
But it wasn't the Renaissance. And then I thought, well, I'll change it to the Renaissance. And then you connect the French, it connects more.
Yes.
So it's just like, it's fascinating, the details.
But what was your method? Would you sit and like, I mean, I'm fascinated by how people do it. Do you sit with a legal pad, typewriter? What were you doing? I mean, and you think I'm making a joke with typewriter. I actually do write stuff on a typewriter because I have some old typewriters, and I just love the mechanism of it. And I love the kind of, I think I think a little harder when I'm working on a typewriter, because it's being put on paper and it feels a little more formal.
It's more of a physical combination of thing rather than a computer.
Yeah.
There's an physical effort. In the first 6 months, I would get the newspaper out and look through it and see if something would click, like to find a joke. But then after like 6 or 8 months, my mind became, because it's all based on what you notice, right?
Yeah,
all the comedy is noticing.
Mm-hmm.
So my mind just became noticing. I didn't no longer look at the paper. It was just like you go out and you just notice. And it was like one of my favorite jokes I ever did was I was looking through the paper and I saw electrolysis. An ad for electrolysis. Mm-hmm. And I thought, what a word. The sound of that word is interesting, and what it means is interesting. So then my mind later came up with I lived in a building, they allowed pets, and I had a pony. I had a Shetland pony named Nicky, and he was involved in a bizarre electrolysis accident. all the hair was removed except for the tail. Now I rent him out to Hare Krishna family picnics. But I drew a lot. Before growing elementary school, high school, drawing and painting, before I ever wrote anything. And when you draw something, you notice, realistically, I changed to abstract in my 20s, but before that it was real. Like, so you really notice stuff. Like if you're gonna draw this glass in this bottle, the shape of the glass and the shape of the bottle, but the shape in between it is also a shape. Yeah. And that helps you get it accurate, to make it look real. And I think that exercised my noticing abilities, like, because it's just like all the comedy is from noticing. In the tower in the airport, the tower they have with the radar.
Yeah.
So the radar sweeps like this, and then there's little dots of the planes. So my subconscious was scanning. I'm not walking down the street. I need another joke. I need a new joke. Right. I'm just walking down the street, but the scan is going like this, and it would just see something, a word or something, going, doot, doot, doot.
That's something.
Yeah, that could be something.
I know that you're into music and you're a musician, and I think there's such a connection between comedy and music. What I've always heard is when I read about great songwriters, they just say that they're doing the same thing. They're scanning and something hits them. And I think and it can be anything, but they're reading the paper and then they see a story. And
especially when you get doing it enough where you're making a living, even if you're just barely paying the rent, you're making a living from the comedy, $100 a week. That's 300, 400 pays the rent, and even less than that. So you have time. You don't have to go somewhere and do this. So you're wandering around, like a 4-year-old. You're just wandering. And to me, what you just said, the world is made up of it's a giant mosaic painting. It's little tiny fragments that make up everything. And he's like, here's that guy died, and that's a tiny thing, and I've noticed things where I combine, this could be connected. This thing that has nothing to do with this does have a common denominator, maybe in the word or something. And then you combine. I'm not thinking when I make it up. I'm not going I'm not doing what I just said to you.
No.
It's
happening. It's happening.
It's like, that could mean that. And it's a bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, it's really cracks me up that my dad's a scientist, and he said once that he's not a good one. He's a shitty scientist. We don't even think he has a degree. He just walks around with a microscope that he found.
The microscope that he found?
Yeah, and he tied it, he wore it around his neck like Mr. T with a medallion. And he said, I'm a scientist. And then he'd just hang out at the train station.
The train station.
Yeah, eat grilled cheese sandwiches. We were like, he's a scientist. But he said, the job of your brain, the thing that's happened in evolution that's supposed to keep us alive is our brain making connections that make sense. Like, I've got a fire here and I've got meat here. When I cook the meat, it actually tastes a little better. I'm going to start doing that. And I think there's something with the comedians I really admire, like you, there's almost something, a miswiring that wouldn't work in evolution, but we're connecting things that shouldn't be connected. And my dad once said to me, and I've said it before, but he looked at me once and he said, it's interesting, because he's very honest and he's also very smart. And he said, you're making your living off of something that probably should be treated. And I realized he's not wrong.
That's hilarious.
It's taking, you can have breakfast anytime, or, the electrolysis joke. You're taking things and putting them together, and they live on completely different synapses that aren't supposed to cross. They're not supposed to be touching each other.
Yes.
But something's either wrong or right in a beautiful way, and that's what happens.
Somehow you see a connection.
Flash forward, I go and do The Simpsons, and it's too hard to explain, but all these crazy things happen. It's really the equivalent of me being in a cornfield and getting hit by a meteor, but all these things happen where suddenly they say, hey, you're gonna replace David Letterman, the guy you idolize, who I said many times cannot be replaced. I said it's impossible to replace him, so I pity the guy who replaces him. I'm on record saying that.
And I was salivating to replace him.
Yeah.
We had totally different dreams because he was hired to produce this show.
Yeah.
But his dream was not that. Like you say, you did Happy, Happy, Good Show, and you were always the funniest guy in the room at SNL. And I was more like, broody Tom Jonovich, just brooding writer.
Right.
But my dream was my hero was like Sylvester Pat Weaver, the guy who created the Today Show and the Tonight Show. I think
that's the saddest thing I've ever heard anybody say.
I was a pathetic nerd. Blair understands.
Did you have a big poster of Pat Weaver?
I do understand.
He understands. No, I would go to the Museum of Broadcasting or whatever, radio and television, and revel in these old, like Dave Garroway talking to a chimp on the Today Show in the 50s. And
no, you were ready to, but what was interesting is, so they said to me, okay, you're going to do this. And I said it then, I say it now. I said, I can do this if I do it with Robert.
Yeah.
I said, I can do this if I do it with Robert Smigel, but I can't do it if it's not with Robert Smigel. And
I don't think I ever heard that. I know you told me you wanted me to do it.
I know. I didn't tell you I wanted you to do it. I said you have to do it. And then I remembered there was stuff about, Robert's contract, we're not sure. And I was...
Oh, Lauren just didn't want me to leave.
No, I know. But I was yelling at NBC, give him take stuff from me and give it to... we have to do this together, because I knew then I had a shot. And
that's very nice.
And it's true. And we don't get self-conscious because I'm complimenting you. Take the paper away. That's my job. But anyway, and then immediately we had very little time to put the show together. I mean, it stuns me now that I think by the time I was done doing the affiliates dance and everything, I think it was June, and the show had to be on the air in September 13th of 1993. It's June, and there's just a big empty space where Dave's studio was, and we had no writers, we had nothing.
Right.
But I knew Robert and I will go, and we worked we didn't sleep. We worked like crazy all summer long.
It was the best. It was my dream job, and I was working with you. It was just like the best guy I could work with. And I have to confess, when he first told me, and you know this, you remember the conversation, I'm sure. When you first told me Lauren wants me to audition, there was a part of me that was like scared.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, guess what? Me too. But I'll remember this very clearly. You were like, "Gee, I don't know," because it's hard.
That's a hard way to break into show business. That's what I said.
If you, it's going to be hard for anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, the only person it wouldn't have been hard for is, I think, Gary Shandling. Gary Shandling was a name they were banking on, and if he had done it would have been absolutely brilliant from day one.
Of course,
because he's Gary Shandling. But everyone else would have taken some knocks for not being Dave.
Right.
But I was going to take a lot of knocks because complete unknown and no experience. And I remember so clearly, I remember where I was. I was living in this little apartment on Weatherly. And I had in this tiny little nook, I had a phone and a phone machine, back when you had a phone machine. And I'm talking to you, and you're sort of saying, they're thinking maybe I should audition because they're looking for the right person. And Lauren said, he's got a look, and maybe, and Conan's funny. He's a look, and he's very polite, and he's got the hair and the funny first name, and maybe that's a thing. And so,
and he'll be cheap.
And trust me, you'll get him for nothing. And so,
my salary non-negotiable. And just because I'm saying you're going to save money on him, not me.
So I remember talking to you, and you were rightly.
I was shumbly.
You were shumbly. You were saying, "Yeah, I don't know." And then in the background, I heard like a Charlie Brown parent voice go, "Wah, wah, 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 wah." And I said, "What was that?" And you said, "Oh, that was Michelle."
Yeah,
because your wife and not wife at the time, girlfriend at the time, I think.
Yes,
and you said, and she said, "Wah, wah, 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 wah." And I said, "What's she saying?" And she's saying, and you said, Michelle said, "He's got nothing to lose."
Right.
And then you said, "Huh, I think that's kind of true. Like, why not?" And
Yeah,
then, of
it was
course,
a
I
good
thought,
point.
yeah, I guess I could be a national joke. But that
was the fear the first year.
The fear was the first year was who's the famous national joke.
But I have to say also that, like, so then I did hesitate a tiny bit. And I just like, it was like a few hours. I was like, wow, man, I don't know, man, if he can do it. He's never been on TV. And then I just thought to myself, so like, you know, we both love performing. And I got to do a few things on Weekend Update. I did, and Conan was already with The Simpsons. And I just remembered, like, this guy helped me for hours with my stupid Weekend Update feature, The Moron's Perspective. And I'm like, I'm hesitating? It's the fucking asshole. And I called you back and I was like, yeah, I mean, this is my buddy.
But then I never once celebrated. Like I audition, they think about it, and then they give it to me, and never, I was always scared and always filled with the sense of responsibility. And here it is now, over 30 years later, and I have never once, I don't think I celebrate anything. I mean, I don't, but I just was always like, well, we'll see.
Exactly.
And still now I'm 60 and I'm going, we'll see.
Oh, boy.
We'll see. We'll see how it happens. But I think it was appropriate not to celebrate getting that show, because it was not like getting cast in an amazing role. It felt to me in a very Catholic way, like this is a test and you're going to have to walk through hell. And then that's what happened.
That is what happened. But I remember, so then he had that audition, which was incredible. I mean, I guess it was, and then I asked him about it, and he said, well, I had nothing to lose. And he was like in front of, I don't know how many people were in that room.
I don't know.
Like,
it was
a tiny.
No, it was a good size.
Like
I don't know,
100 people. Maybe.
Yeah.
And he interviewed Jason Alexander and Mimi Rogers, and his Mimi Rogers interview was just like professional, hysterical. And then I just turned on a dime. I was like, this guy's going to be enormous. And then he was so funny and hilarious. When we assembled writers, we all got incredibly overconfident.
Yes.
We're like, everybody's going to have a pompadour within 6 months. I really believe this. I was like, everybody's going to want to have long, skinny pants. And I was positive. And so, but
everyone's going to want to have kind of like ambivalent, ambiguous gender.
It was a good
He's kind
thing,
of a
though.
guy, but also a little bit of a girl.
No, but for he stayed nervous, but the rest of us were so confident. And it was great because it made us try everything. We were fearless. We tried every idea. And obviously some went to shit, but it's still the proudest achievement of my whole career, easily, is how much stuff we did generate.
If you look at the first 2 years, that's the thing that I'm stunned. Well, even if you looked at the first 3 weeks,
there's so much material that you did forever on the late night show.
We did the Clutch Cargo in the year 2000, the actual items. There's so many things but then we kept we never stopped trying to try new things.
Yes.
And I remember people used to who were in the business would say, I mean, I remember even David Letterman saying that's insane, because we were basically trying to do Saturday Night Live every night.
Yes, which is
impossible. And then finally you could smell the smoke of like the gears grinding.
Yes.
People going insane, no one's sleeping.
It's funny because like so many, I think I've told you this story. So like and it was a lot of it stemmed.
I've really gotten into piano. I just love it. Especially Beethoven. I play Beethoven every night on my Discord server. Just like 20 people show up, but I just play through the sonatas over and over. It's just makes me feel incredible. It doesn't matter what happened during the day. I just feel great.
And what is it about Beethoven? I love that I'm acting like this Beethoven guy, but specifically, what is it about his music that's getting you right now?
Oh, I've always loved it since I was a teenager, but now I can semi-play it. So that's, it's just, I don't know. He's like, it's just how my brain works. He just gets my attention and he keeps it and takes me to all these different places. And it's such an emotional ride. Put on Mozart and I space out after 5 seconds. Can't get into it.
Right. So, Tim, you mentioned that it's about piano for you. Are you teaching yourself? Do you have a tutor?
No, I don't really. I just play Beethoven, really. I'm not learning how to play. And then I jam, too.
I know, but you're angering me because That's enraging me, how talented
no,
you are.
'cause
I'm sorry. It's just making me mad.
I started in earnest about 6 years ago. So every night I would just start playing. And, at that time it would take me a week to get through one sonata. And now it's like 2 days. 2 evenings of some 2 hours to get through a sonata.
I'm kind of blown away by that. My relationship, I love playing music. I love hacking around on guitar, but it has never been intuitive for me. I don't have that, which is, and I've always really envied people that have that ability to figure it out, hear something, and then it goes through their brain, and then they can make it happen with their hands. I need to figure out what is that shape, and I need to memorize it. And that's how it works for me. And it's why that is not my profession. But I'm really amazed. Like, I'm trying to think of you as a kid, and you're listening to classical music, but you're also, I'm sure, listening to
heavy metal.
And at what point do you say, I need to get my own guitar? Is that pretty early on?
Yeah, it was last day of 8th grade. There was a performance by some other 8th grade boys. They went up and did Mental Health by Quiet Riot in front of the whole school. And these were kids I knew, and they were just regular kids, and yet they were playing these instruments, and it just sounded incredible. It was just magic. I was like, I should be able to do this. And I got a guitar and started a cover band, did a bunch of metal songs, and then moved out to LA with my metal band, and we thought we were gonna make it like that, but it didn't pan out. And
so whatever happened to you?
Well, I
never made it in music, and then what happened?
I think
that's how it sounded for a second. Sorry.
Well, getting the job at Tower really helped me.
Yeah.
I got exposed to all different kinds of music, not just the latest cool music, but also going back to the 60s and hearing the Beach Boys and the Beatles, and then talking to other employees there. Some of them have been, they were kind of lifers at Tower Records, and they're just so knowledgeable. And
what year is this now? This is like early 90s?
Yeah, 90, 91.
Yeah.
And I met the Weezer guys through my coworkers there, and we formed the band.
And the band is named, it's a nickname that you had as a kid?
Yeah, that's what my dad called me when I was very young. I asked him, why'd you call me Weezer? And he said it was after the kid in The Little Rascals. There was a character named Weezer.
Oh, yeah.
Was there a Weezer?
Yeah.
There was like a Froggy for a while, and he probably grew too old, and they put in Weezer or something like that. They always needed a weird-sounding kid or something.
Wow.
And so I said, why him? And he said, because he's the cool one.
Oh, that's cool. Same reason I had a band called You Little Shit. Thank you, Dad. We didn't really go anywhere. That's
He's also my favorite Little Rascal.
Yeah. You're in this awkward position of being an increasingly more and more important part of the Marvel world, but as Agent Jimmy Woo, but you're also in the DC world. And that must be very complicated because you've got, I don't know how you can inhabit both worlds without fans attacking you. Do you know what I mean? You're like you're in a blue state, but you're wearing a MAGA hat. You know what I mean? You've got good environmental policy, but you don't believe in getting vaccinated.
It helps to not be on social media. That helps. But I don't know how it happened. It just I kind of booked those two jobs at the exact same time, and it just kind of somehow magically happened, because I remember, I think on the same day even, like, hey, you got this Marvel thing, and hey, you got this DC thing, like, and a couple hours later, and I was like, well, do I have to pick one? And my reps were like, well, let's see if we can make them both work. And then
I don't think they told anybody because I think Marvel people, the people making Marvel movies are probably so snobby about DC they won't even watch it. And the DC people are like, I'm not watching that Marvel shit. And so the Aquaman people aren't watching. They don't know that. I think they don't know.
It's possible, but they unless they're like my parents and my career, that they're about.
No,
to
your whole
see
career has been
something.
about deception.
Yeah,
and that's what's happening right now. Is you're living a double life. You're inhabiting both of these comic universes.
This is like the modern day equivalent of being a union scout.
You're gonna get roughed up in an alley.
I know.
It's on the waterfront. It's so funny because I loved WandaVision, and when you show up, when Agent Jimmy Woo shows up in that, I was watching it with my son.
Yeah.
He was so excited when you showed up. It's cool.
It is so cool.
The fan loyalty, and he's very discerning about things he likes and doesn't like, and so there's this connection to you now. Like, oh great, I'm glad that he's in this. I'm glad that he's in this.
Oh, that's
project.
very sweet.
Yeah,
that's very sweet. Yeah. I mean, it's cool also because I'm not a superhero. I'm just like a regular guy, and and
some say though
still
that's the greatest superhero of all.
Who says that?
Absolutely nobody.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, but I think it's. I mean, actually, in a world inhabited by people that can float, shoot beams out of their eyes, walk through walls.
Yeah.
There's constant portals opening up and they're jumping through. Being a guy in a suit. Makes you pop. You're a guy in a suit who's got a job to do. You're a civil servant. And it's got its own cool factor to it.
I saw a friend showed me something online. Someone had tweeted something about oh my God, it's there's this quick scene where I'm bringing coffee to some of my partners, and they were like, "Oh my God, we love that he's bringing coffee to his coworkers," and and I'm like, "Yeah, that is something that should be cool."
Yeah,
right. Because also, I think if you're watching any of especially the later Avengers, where there's constantly different holes opening up in the sky and dragons made out of fire are coming out, and Thor's punching Spider-Man, and
I thought you were gonna say the Hulk brought coffee to somebody.
No, but if you saw the Hulk say, "Hulk, go get latte. Anyone else want hot drink?" I think everyone would stop for a second, and they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on these CGI effects, and if there's just a moment where Hulk say, or he doesn't even ask, he comes back.
Oh, that would be amazing.
And he says to Captain America, "Me see you drink green tea once, buy you green tea." Wow, Hulk. Me not sure green, because everything looked green to me. Yeah, it's not actually green tea. It's actually coffee. Look green to me. Don't make Hulk mad. Me also buy you green cookie. No, it's not. No, Hulk. Hulk, you ass.
You green. Everyone green.
Everyone green. Hulk need lens crafters. Okay, Hulk, tell us what you see. All green. Okay, take it easy, Hulk.
Okay.
Every day St. Paddy's Day.
St. Paddy's Day again? Hulk just want beer. All beer green. Hulk, we've been through this. Does your family watch the show and think, "Wait a minute, I never did that. I never stole a blender. I just made that up. That's not a plot point. But I know that, you know what I mean? I know that if I did a show called Conan, I hired actors to play my parents and my all my brothers and sisters, I would be constantly getting calls like, what the fuck was that? You had me steal a scrunchie. You know what I mean?
No, totally. I kind of really, there was this big period of my life where my parents weren't seeing any of the comedy I was doing. I mean, I think I did stand up probably. I wasn't putting anything online. I wasn't doing anything. I just kind of did it silently for almost 10 years, just trying to get it, where I wanted it to be. And then, when the show was coming out and my stand up was coming out, I kind of told my parents, I was like, look, this is really, I'm taking from everyone in the community, and there's a writer's room. It's not just me, and I think I worked hard to create enough likeness, but also enough distance between all the individual family members. So I think my parents were kind of like, okay, he's doing something different. And they're also really big fans of television. Like my parents watch everything, they like would know specific bits of yours. Like my dad loves comedy. He'll watch late night. He watches everything on HBO. So he I think at first maybe had a little bit of this, like, why are you doing this? And we had a couple of those conversations. And then very quickly, like the TV fan in him kind of clicked on. And then, he'll watch the seasons, and now we're at the 3rd season and he's like, oh yeah, you really nailed the tone. And I'm like, oh, cool. Well, I'm like talking about tone with my dad. That's like really cool, So that's something.
My father has never said to me, you really nailed the tone. Dad,
that's what every son hopes to hear.
I'm coming home. I'm in the East Coast. Just try to muster a you really nailed the tone. And then something about ragamuffins.
That's what every Hollywood son would love to hear from his father.
You nailed the tone.
Don't even get me started on the lighting. Just really, that's where it gets emotional.
Your show went to the Middle East, and I'm really fascinated by this because tell me exactly where you shot.
Season 1 we shot in Egypt, and then season 3 we shot in Egypt and we shot in Jerusalem.
Right.
Yeah, and so we took my character, from the first season we've kind of seen him. He again, he doesn't really have a passion. He gets into his uncle's family business.
Yes.
And he's selling jewelry in the Diamond District,
right.
which was based on a couple of my buddies that I grew up with who were like the 3 Lebanese dudes in the district, and everyone else is mainly Jewish, and I would walk in and just the banter would be hilarious. I mean, everyone's just going at everybody, and it's the same guys. Everyone's going back and forth, like saying really, really crude shit, and then
and also
hugging and making deals and like the whole thing.
What's crazy too is your uncle character is so anti-Semitic.
Yes.
And obviously to have an anti-Semitic character, but also at times, and this sounds insane, but the stuff he's saying is absolutely crazy, but almost cartoonishly crazy. And you're just saying, nope, that's okay. No, that's not true. But you also give him some dimension so that there are times where I almost feel for him. Do you know what I mean? Or where I think, okay, I see there's a human being in there, which I think is next to impossible to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think, we wanted to kind of show him in this position where we have the Rami character, and so much of his thing is like, I'm looking at things in my family, I'm looking at things in my tradition, I'm looking at all these things, and I'm figuring out which things do I want to move forward with? What things do I want to be part of my life? So on one hand, there's the spiritual element of it where I think he's really grasping towards a lot of these great things that he wants. But then there's a couple of cultural things and family things that he's like, there's certain level of strictness that's wild. And then there is this like uncle who walks around with his anti-Semitism. Right. And just watching Rami kind of bat that away and what that struggle is really exciting and because I think it's so real. And so I think when people see it, they're like, I think it's clear what the intention is as to why we're showing it and how we're showing it, and it exists in every family. I mean, there's actually this really great show that follows a Jewish family called Schnitzel, and they have an uncle who Schnitzel, I'm sorry, and they have an uncle.
I love that show.
Oh, it's so good, and they have the uncle who hates Muslims.
Yeah.
So it's like it's so funny because it's like you see, oh yeah, that's another thing that I've heard from my Jewish friends who watch the show. They're like, dude, I have that uncle. He just says it's like it becomes algebraic. He just says insert whatever thing, and then you're trying to fight that off from that generation.
Well, the cross currents of kinds of racism, what is when you see in cultures, I'll be talking to someone who's from Mexico, and they'll be like, oh, look at that guy's from Nicaragua, man, those people, and you're like, what are we doing?
Oh, you're not even, I know.
You know what I mean? And then the person in Nicaragua was like, just keep that Bolivian away from me. Those people, I don't know how you do it, and and you realize that this is happening in China. They've broken it down 75 different ways, and that province, well, can't marry into that family. And you realize that this is something in our genes.
It's everywhere. And, and I've always felt like it's a little bit unfairly attributed to being like only white people, you know?
Right.
Because I think white people are just the best at racism. Like I think they, like, you know, institutionalized it in many ways. But it's just racism.
We turned it into like McDonald's. We took people like, you know, people are like a hamburger, and then white people said, no, there's a way to do this much more efficiently and on a massive scale.
And branded it.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
But it's not just, there's a lot of organic, homegrown racism in all of our communities that, you know, just isn't branded in the same way. But it really, even something like Islamophobia, you know, I've always felt like, yeah, there's this idea that people who aren't Muslim hate Muslims, but I've never seen anyone hate a Muslim more than another Muslim because they're not the type of Muslim that they think they should be. Like there's like Islamophobia, then there's like Muslim Islamophobia, where it's literally like just put Indians and Pakistanis in a room and it's just like, man, can we find what we have in common? Why are we so against each other?
Right.
And I think that's a lot of what we have in the show too, is just some of those elements of, again, like looking at something that is a human virus. And I don't want to be in the position where, okay, I'm making this show and I need to show everyone Arabs and Muslims are really lovable and, you know, don't hate us, because then it just feels so sanitary and it feels so unreal and it feels, you just kind of don't believe it. So we have a character like my uncle who exists for that reason, just to say we're putting it all out on the table.
I mean, when you first introduced him, you think, well, he's just a joke. Yeah. Then you have these great scenes where you see that he has some levels to him, which are really cool. You know, and so, you know, and it's crazy to say that because we're talking about, you know, a character who should just be immediately canceled. But, you know, that's, I think the thing is you're getting really near these third rails and kind of touching them a little bit, which I think is important to do.
Yeah, it feels like the most, I feel like that's a good way to put it. That third rail or that button you're not supposed to touch, all those things to me feel like the best thing that we could contribute as comedians, like to do that as thoughtfully as possible and to do it in a way where hopefully we're not just like spreading the issue or I would say adding to the problem. But yeah, that feels like the most useful thing I could do, because I don't think any of us are, you know, that well read or you know, fit to like lead the country in any sort of direction. But I do think if we can kind of get into emotional complexities and play with them a bit, that starts to feel really fun. And you know, we're also just trying to be funny. So I think that
yeah, that's the important thing, I think, is it's got to be comedy first.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Quinta Brunson, and I feel optimistic about being Conan O'Brien's friend.
That's nice. Well, you should feel optimistic because...
Is that a threat? Why'd you say it like that?
You listen to me, Quinta. You listen to me.
I said I feel optimistic.
Suddenly security comes rushing in and beats the shit out of me. It was just the tone of my voice.
You could, yeah.
Delighted to have you on the podcast. I'm just all tingly because I am. Well, some of that's a stroke.
Yeah.
Which happens at my age.
What is your age?
What is?
Yeah.
What is my age? That is such a rude question. It's 61. I'm 61 years old.
That's amazing.
Did I?
That's so cool.
You didn't think
How are you still walking?
You didn't
That's why
think
I don't like to do podcasts. I'm just saying.
No, that's so great.
Yeah,
I love that. That's amazing that someone can live that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's mostly animatronic at this point. So.
You didn't see me. They carried me in and put me in the chair before you walked in.
Anyway, sorry.
No, but it's funny because you're super young. I remembered being your age, and if I met someone who was 60 or 61, I thought, oh my God, I can't believe they, you know, they just stood up from a sitting position.
That's not what she meant. That's not what she meant.
You look
First
good
of all, I'm
for
not
your age.
super young. It's relative compared to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but compared to people who are 20, I'm not super young. But I used to watch your show with my sister, and I was very, very young. That's when I was like allowed to come sleep on her floor.
Just like the old late night show.
The old late night show.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal for me, and it was very formative for me. And so I don't know. When you said 61, I was like, thinking about my own age and just watching your show when I was younger. I think it's super tight that you're 61. Not like
That's cool.
Do you know what I
No.
Yeah, guys.
No.
Podcast.
Well,
Okay.
we were talking about it today. Your show premiered today.
Today is the day that is the anniversary of my late night show starting, which is when things really kicked into high gear for me, obviously.
That's wild.
And that was 1993. So that's
31 years
31 years ago.
Mhm.
And
What the fuck? That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I probably was about 10 when I was allowed to sleep up there. It was a big deal to go. My sisters are much older than me, so it was like the biggest deal that could ever happen to me to go be able to sleep upstairs with them. And yeah, I was watching your show and I was like, oh,
you know,
like this guy.
Oh, that's nice.
One day I want to hang out with him, but not till he's much older.
Well, you know what's interesting? Let me finish my thought, which is you put the comedy first, which is so important, and then put it in allegiance to a cause that was very important to you. Sometimes people confuse the order and they say, I'm going to do this important comedy that shines a light on this thing, and they forget to put comedy first.
You get it.
The writing is so good, the performing is so good, your cast is amazing, but I also love that we have a culture that's obsessed with wealth, and so many shows are about wealth. Watching your show was so beautifully refreshing to me because so few people, and it's almost like there's a mandate out there. A show has to be about super wealthy people. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I think that part of the reason why I was longing to see something like my show, and thank you for all your kind words, that means the world, was because like wish fulfillment became the biggest thing, the biggest buy. It was the biggest sell. And that goes from shows about wealthy people to shows about people who are like super stylish, people being sold what they are not in order to keep them in a cycle of I'm not good enough. And I really think it's the same thing as when you see an ad for sunglasses that like you can't afford, but that ad is secretly telling you if you don't have these sunglasses, you're not good enough. So you need to get them. And I felt like all the shows were starting to feel that way. And with Abbott, just going to a point about what you said, I didn't really think about the good cause when I was making it. There was no part of me, in spite of how many people say it, that was like, I want to make a show that shines a light on teachers. I really did not give a fuck. It wasn't until the night that it premiered, and we premiered it in front of a group of teachers on the Walt Disney line. I was like, holy shit, this is about teachers. What if these teachers don't? I didn't even think about that. To me, it was just a ripe environment for a television show.
Yes.
For a workplace comedy.
Well, your mom,
yes,
teacher for many years,
yep,
and you had the experience. I've read in interviews, we said you went there and you're visiting your mom at her elementary school, and you looked around and you said, oh, this is a show. Now, what I love is, as I said before, there are people that think they're being altruistic. Like, I need to do a show that's about this important cause that we all need to think about. And think, well, no, good art comes from the inspiration first.
Yep.
And you had the inspiration out of, you love comedy, you wanted to make a show, you saw this place that would make a great show.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't work if you had gone at it the other way.
I don't think so either. And I think it's the same side of the coin of like, the people who made Succession, someone looked at that world and saw a show, and they made a great show. And it was the same approach to Abbott. Now, that show isn't like altruistic in nature or like shining a light on anything, but I still think most artists and television writers should do exactly what you said. Like, you see a good world, make a good show. If whatever happens after that, and you can't really control that part of it. I would have never expected all that came from everything that teachers gain from it. I just did not. A beautiful blessing on the side of just showcasing a world. Because the other thing is, to me, that world doesn't look bad. That's the world that I'm from. It's so it was so funny when the show came out and they're like, these underrepresented these poor children are finally. I was like, they just regular ass kids, y'all. They not that poor. They the regular amount of American poor. Yeah. It's like, my God, these people are so decrepit and it's beautiful. They have the spotlight. I was like,
You're talking about my mom. And you.
And me.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my God. That you would shine a light on this horrible world.
These people, they're so sad.
It's not The Walking Dead.
No, literally. It's funny.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff you can't do anything about. Some people will interpret the art that way and you just kind of live with it, I guess.
You know what's fun too is there's so much great comedy moments that come out of we don't have enough scissors. We need to figure out a way to get scissors. And it's not coming from a place of teaching a lesson. It's coming from, this is great. This is a good comedic moment.
Yeah.
And then you can feel whatever you're going to feel after that, which is, there is something deeply screwed up about the priorities in our country. These are our schools. And so something is tragically fucked up, but it's coming on the heels of finding all of this beautiful human comedy, character comedy.
Totally.
You know, not sitcom jokes, but character comedy.
Have you ever watched King of Queens?
Yeah.
So there's an episode of that show where they're on strike from IPS where they work, which is UPS, the main character, Doug, and his friends. And ultimately, I imagine when they went in the room, they were just like, what's Doug going to do without work in Arthur's home, his father-in-law?
Yep.
Like, how is Arthur going to get on Doug's nerves in this way? And I'm sure that's like what was in the room and on the board. But when I watched as a young girl, it's how I learned about like strikes and the effectiveness of strikes. And I just know they weren't in that room like, let's teach America a lesson. The man to do it is Kevin James. It was just, but I wound up like, it was my first experience watching something about the need for a strike every now and then.
Yeah.
And so I like to approach comedy in that way of just the most basic comedic situation, the most basic sitcom, 1, 2, 3. And then because of our world though, because of being in a public school, we're not afraid to go to those places where you might learn a lesson. And it honestly just comes out organically because we have really strong characters. And when you have characters that are strong with real opinions and real thoughts and backgrounds, you like naturally get to this place of, oh shit, we'll write ourselves into a lesson. Like, oh fuck, damn, okay. Yeah. Barbara just dropped some knowledge that we didn't plan on her dropping, but yeah, whatever. Anyway, I really hate this. Is
no. What do you hate? What do you hate?
Just like talking.
Is it him? Do we need to get rid of him?
Am I the problem?
No, I'm gonna be quiet.
So old. We should get rid of him.
Let's us kids hang out.
Let's phase me out now.
I'm only 51.
51?
Oh God.
What's it like?
You're 51.
Thank you.
You look great.
Hey.
You all look great.
Hey. You did not say that to me.
I did say that.
No, you didn't.
No, that's where she was headed. That's
you were headed that way.
I was headed
there.
This
is bullshit. You went right to you look great. You were doing a lot of how long has he got? I could see it in your eyes.